Tom Dempsey was born without a right hand and with only half of a right foot. Tom went to school and played football. He even played on a junior college team in California. In time, he began to place kick for the team. And he got so good that eventually he was signed by the New Orleans Saints. And on November 8th, 1970, the Saints were trailing Detroit 17-16 with 2 seconds to go in the game. They had the ball on the Detroit 45-yard line. New Orleans coach J.D. Roberts tapped Tom on the shoulder and said, "Go out there and give it your best shot." The holder set the ball down 8 yards behind the line of scrimmage instead of 7 to give Dempsey a split second more time to get the ball off. This put the ball 63 yards from the uprights. Well, the rest of the story is history. Tom's half of a right foot made perfect contact with the ball. Tom later said in Newsweek magazine, "I couldn't follow the ball that far, but I saw the official's arms go up, and I can't describe how great I felt." And the Saints won the game 19-17. And Dempsey shattered the NFL field goal record by 7 yards. So, keep all that in mind. Let's go to the gospel. We have a wealthy man, right, who had 3 people that he's talking about that worked for him. One workman had great ability. The second had average ability, and the third had very little ability. And in the parable, the wealthy man had decided to make a journey, and before leaving, he gave each workman a sum of money according to his ability. So the first one got 5 talents, the second one got 2 talents, and the third one got 1 talent. And these 3 workmen were to use the money to make a profit for the owner during his absence. Now, the deeper meaning is that the wealthy man stands for Jesus, who ascended into heaven after his resurrection. And he will return again at the end of the world. Now, the workers stand for you and me. And the talent was not like being able to sing or to dance or to play football, but rather a talent at the time of Jesus was a measure of weight. 1 talent was worth about 15 years' wages, a lot of money. And so what we learn is that those who had a certain amount of talents and did something with it were rewarded with even more and entered into the joy of the master. But the person who hid it and didn't do anything with his talent, what he had was taken away, and needless to say, he did not enter into the joy of his master. Now, in his absence, Jesus expects us to use the talents God has given us to work for the spread of God's kingdom on earth, so that when Jesus returns, he will judge us on how well we used our talents to work for the kingdom. I think it's important to note that the man with the least ability, the one who received 1 talent, was the one who made no effort to do anything with the money that he had been given. Listen to what the gospel says. "Master, I knew you were a demanding person, harvesting where you did not plant and gathering where you did not scatter. So out of fear, I went off and buried your talent in the ground." Now, do you see how this guy has basically insulted the master by calling him a thief? Because that's what he's doing. He's calling the master a thief. Because when you reap where you did not sow, you are taking what belongs to someone else. So this servant's concept of the master is that he is a hard man and a thief. He does not trust the master. And so in his fear, he takes the one talent and he buries it in the ground. This servant has such a twisted vision of the master. Not only does he not recognize the master as generous, but he even thinks of him as a thief. And remember, the master represents Jesus. So can you see how this shows us how sin distorts our understanding of God? But the fact of the matter is that God cannot be a thief, because everything we have belongs to him, and we are merely stewards of what we have been given. So if I use what I have been given for him, there is joy that comes in my life. But if we are stingy and we are fearful and we don't want to step out of the boat and use the things we have for the kingdom and his glory, then we won't experience that joy. If we look at what we have been given in this way, it frees us up to make decisions that will honor him rather than putting ourselves first. So what is our vision of God? And what are we doing with what we have been given? When we look at someone like Tom Dempsey, I think it's fair to say that he had very few, if any, talents that we would say are good for playing football. Yet, he used the very few talents he had to accomplish a great deal. He not only played football, but he set a pro football record that wasn't broken for many years. If Tom Dempsey used the few talents he had to work so hard for an earthly crown that fades with time, how much more ought we to use our talents to work for a heavenly crown and enter the joy of the Master for all eternity? The bottom line, folks, is that we will all be held accountable for what we do with our talents. As St. Paul said in our second reading, "For you yourselves know very well that the day of the Lord will come like a thief in the night. Therefore, let us not sleep as the rest do, but let us stay alert and be sober."